Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of Movies That I'll Never See. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about a very, very easy target but I'm probably one of the few people that actually avoided this in particular. I am never going to see the sequels to Michael Bay's Transformers. And I know a lot of you are going to be saying that's a good thing because a lot of you have seen those sequels and have hated them. So, what do I think of the original Transformers movie? Well, I saw it when I was like 12, and I don't remember relatively enjoying it, but I don't remember hating it. It really is like in the middle movie. And I've looked at like what people think of Michael Bay's movies. If they think that his Transformers movie is one of his best films, then that's saying a lot when considering what people consider his worst. Because like the Transformers movie really is nothing special outside of its computer effects. So, with that said, I've heard about the Transformers sequels. I've heard that they're really bad, and that the stories written for them do not try, and instead it just focuses on a lot of action. And I've heard that maybe like the third movie has like maybe some pretty good action. But the thing is that when it comes to movies is that if you're a junkie who likes watching movies just for action scenes, then go ahead, do what you want to do. But I intend to want to get like maybe a story, maybe some characters, maybe some good acting behind all the action. I mean, I've seen that the star of these movies, Shia LaBeouf, has pretty much distanced himself from the Transformers movies. Like, he wants nothing to do with them anymore. And he has pretty much moved on. Like, for better and for worse, from what I've seen. Because he's not really the best at picking movies. So he can be a talented actor, of course. Like, you can just look through his entire filmography and you can pick out a few things. But the Transformers movies really does represent what PG-13 schlock is. I mean, the thing is that I think that the original Transformers movie is too much for little kids. I mean, there's a lot of people who say that the PG-13 rating is like it only gets it for violence, and a lot of parents that just don't care about violence these days, I guess. But there's still a lot of raunchy humor that's included in the movie. And I've heard that the sequels can get even worse with this. So, I view them as movies where the PG-13 rating is relatively warranted, which is weird just because Transformers is aimed at young boys. So, but maybe it's appealing to the kids who grew up with it. I don't know. So, I just remember when the fourth movie came out, and this was like the breaking point for a lot of people where they considered it the worst, and a lot of people just could not stand it, but it still made a lot of money. It grossed $1 billion. Which makes me wonder, why does that happen to movies that just have nothing going for them from a script standpoint, and all is just a bunch of action scenes and nothing else? So, with Michael Bay's movies, all Michael Bay has to do is just find good scripts, and he'd be a director that would work properly. But it's been many years since he started making movies, and he still has never done that. Whereas, like, behind his belt, he has one movie that people think kind of holds up okay, which is The Rock, which is another movie that I haven't seen yet. But maybe I should just give it a quick watch and see if it's anything I like. Because there are a lot of people that like The Rock. I asked my mom, have you seen the movie The Rock? And I said, yes, I have. I thought it was pretty good. But I have looked through his entire catalog. I haven't seen any of Michael Bay's movies outside of the Transformers movie. And I mean, it was like when I think of like someone who works in the business, you can work in movies, you can also work in TV, And I've seen that, like, apparently Michael Bay's television work is better done than his movie work, which makes sense because television is a different medium where you make, like, individual episodes rather than telling one entire story for the entire time, for start to finish. I mean, it's like when it comes to movie sequels, you have to be able to end it somewhere. While in television shows, if you have an entire season ordered, you can just end it with a cliffhanger. And there's a lot of people who are against cliffhangers, but if you're having an episode series made, and you know that you're going to be able to make the episodes afterwards, just go ahead with the cliffhanger. I mean, does anyone complain about Netflix's large season releases where individual episodes have cliffhangers? No. Because you can just watch them all at once. Because that's how Netflix is designed. So, it's kind of sad that Michael Bay's movies are probably really inspirational in terms of how action scenes are made, and maybe even how movies are marketed. But the fact that they don't have good stories written behind them to support the action scenes and all the effort put into it is just pretty bad. And it's a common joke that the movies are aimed strictly at 13-year-old boys, and maybe even younger, and which is a claim that the director himself supports and doesn't strike down. I mean, it's like, there are a couple movies he's made that are rated R, and probably really deserve the R, from what I've heard. Which, I'm guessing that his other demographic is like these men that never grew up mentally. So, I don't know. And the one thing that I can be against is the PG-13 schlock fest, where there are a lot of movies that have PG-13 ratings that are really good. I mean, you can't really bash a movie for its rating because it's not really something that's only like an American thing when it comes to PG-13. However, when it comes to like the studio ideal PG-13, like the no quality, it's kind of like what Rob Walker said. You have a movie that is pretty much playing it safe to where it's too like either violent or has too much raunch jokes to be appropriate for anyone under the age of 13. However, there is nothing in it that is truly for adults. Nothing that's like scary or thrilling or anything outside of a small demographic of just 13, and just doesn't give you anything, but is easy to market and make a lot of money. That's pretty much the PG-13 schlock fest that you can get in movies. Like, yeah, Michael Bay is a good example. Even if his movies shouldn't be watched by people under the age of 13, it still doesn't really have anything else for that demographic of adults. I mean, I've heard that Zack Snyder has slipped into that fest, except I haven't really watched any of his movies either, so I wouldn't know. And there's probably a lot of other directors that did this. I mean, there was one movie that I was hoping for. It was a movie based off of Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed actually has a story behind it, where I felt like you could actually have transferred that into a movie. When I saw that it had a PG-13 rating, I was beside myself, because the games are really violent. I mean, from start to finish, you're always killing people in very brutal ways, whether it's stabbing them or pushing them off of buildings or any like disturbing thing you can think of. But this movie is another one of those PG-13 schlock fests, and I'm not saying that if it had an R rating it would have been good. I mean, I haven't seen the movie either, so I don't know for sure, but that feels like a betrayal, that you're adapting a game series that were all rated M, that deserved that rating. I mean, I played those games. I wouldn't let anyone under 18 play them. And then, when you're making a movie, you just water it down, make it PG-13. And If the movie still had a very bad story as an R-rated movie, it still would have been just as bad. But at least it probably would have given us the amount of blood and gore that the games gave you. So, yeah. What's the moral of today? Don't support like high-budget movies that have bad stories, because all it does is make movie studios want to make more of those and less about the movies that have people who actually want to tell a story that is good, that can actually have an impact on someone's life. Those are my thoughts. Good night, everyone.